Hello people. In today's video I am going to be going over Mydei's auto. However, I'm not going to really make a video talking about whether or not it's bad, because very clearly it just is straight up bad. There isn't really an argument to be had. However, I'm more so making this video as a counter argument to some of the points I've been seeing from these Hoyo shills who love to defend this company at every point in turn, anytime someone gives them even the slightest bit of criticism, even when it's completely valid, right? So let's get straight into this. So one of the points I've seen for Mydei being fine with auto is, oh, he clears old endgame just fine, so it's fine if he's auto. Now, the first thing to get over here is, do you think that this game's scaling in endgame and character power creep has ever been stagnant, right? Like, I think at this point, the term history repeats itself is very prominent within the HSR community because of how often the power scaling just goes up massively every few patches, right? We had Jingliu and Dill, who used to be the absolute top of the meta. Then it was Acheron, then it was Firefly, then it was Fei Xiao, and then it was Herda, then it was Aglaya, and in the future it's probably going to be like Phanon or something, right? Like, this game has a history of continuously making the endgame more difficult and making newer characters stronger. So yes, it's true, Mydei clears content just fine currently. However, in the future, what are you going to do when he selects the wrong target and it makes you take an extra cycle over and over and over again? Nothing. You can't do shit. You know what you can do though? You can put some currency that you've saved for months into his E1, right? That's how you fix the problem. You just get his E1 and his Godslayer is now AoE and does the same multiplier damage towards everyone on field, right? So if you're complaining about, you know, the auto fucking up your cycle clearage in endgame, just pull the E1, right? Like, it's the dumbest shit I've ever heard, to be honest. A lot of people have been saying this as well, unironically. A lot of them jokingly, I'm fully aware. However, I do have to point that out, right? The next one is someone who avidly watches me, right? And I don't hate this person personally. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, these are just gacha takes, right? Bad takes on gacha, in my opinion. However, I myself have had bad takes here and there, such as the one I had with ER ropes, although that one was mostly due to me not being free to play and not knowing that free to plays can't get variable device in any other way outside of crafting it. I didn't know that. I was a battle pass owner, and so I was just kind of confused. I thought everybody got a free variable device every single patch, so that's my fault on that video, right? However, this person who avidly watches me tried to defend this by saying it's no different to counterattack characters. Now, I think anyone can realize that this shit is just stupid. For example, Yun Li is actually one of the most difficult characters to run on auto in the entirety of the game, because you actually have to time the counterattack when the enemy is about to take a turn. And this is the point that people are trying to make, right? Mydei is literally full auto, right? And he isn't a counterattacker. He is just someone who scales off of HP drain, and if you have his E2, HP healing as well, right? But this guy isn't a counterattacker. He doesn't do a God Slayer be God every single time an enemy hits. He doesn't do that. He doesn't even take a turn every time an enemy hits, right? The entire reason why people are mad about his auto isn't that his performance is necessarily bad with auto. It's that it takes a lot of fun out of the game, right? In the first place, we are very limited in terms of what we can do in combat in this game, right? I've said this many times before, but the skill, right, the so-called skill in a game like this is very, very limited, right? For example, this is an example I've used many times before. If you were to take like a competitive professional player, right, from any of these popular multiplayer shooter games, and you give someone else the setup, the settings, everything that the pro has just like them, that, less experienced player isn't going to get any better for a very long time. It'll still take them months or years to even have a chance of reaching the pros level. However, in this game, if you just have a certain level of relic quality, it doesn't matter even if you die once. Once you do enough tries, someone who is almost completely clueless in this game will be able to replicate the same run as some of the most knowledgeable people in the space, just because they have the exact same relic quality and characters, right? So the skill expression in this game is honestly, in my opinion, very, very limited. And once again, you can just watch a video of someone way better than you doing something and copy it, and now you clear just as well as them, right? Like, it's not really that good. So the fact that we only have a few buttons to really, kind of make things kind of fun, right? Feel like you're actually in control of the characters and how well you perform in the battle. To just remove that slight bit of skill expression that's still left in the game and just make a character basically a memo sprite, I just don't think that's good, right? I don't think that's fun in the slightest at all, right? I think it's fine for his Godslayer Be God to be full auto. I think that makes complete sense. But every other part of his kit should not be full auto. Like, the man just goes into Vendetta and you're never able to select anything with him at all. And a lot of people have rightfully, said that in APOC and certain pure fiction situations, this shit sucks, right? In pure fiction situations, you'll usually want to be hitting the mobs, because sometimes you can get more HP percent damage on the main boss with that. And in APOC, let's say for example, right, we have, I'm actually not sure if APOC has reset from this. Keep in mind, I'm not too into Honkai Star Rail currently. I'm kind of burnt out. However, the true sting in APOC that is kind of meant to shill Herda, right? If Mydei just keeps attacking the main boss instead of the bugs, it's gonna take twice as long for him to actually break the APOC boss, leading to his clears taking, once again, twice as long. And yes, this isn't an issue right now, right? Even if he does take twice as long, he can probably still clear. But once again, I have to bring up the point, in the future when endgame becomes increasingly more difficult and newer characters are increasingly stronger, this auto will hurt a lot more, right? This isn't even comparable to like, oh, older, weaker character is now struggling in the newer endgame, but because I'm a much smarter player, I can still make him work most of the time. This guy is complete auto. The little bit of skill expression that a knowledgeable veteran might have in this game to allow them to clear a few cycles faster is gone with Mydei. The only way you can really kind of min-max him is by min-maxing the other teammates that are on the team, because you simply cannot control what he does, right? Now, I'm not saying Mydei's a bad DPS. I do think he's a decent pickup, although his light cone is a really massive damage increase. Same with his E1. It's very, very crazy in my opinion, right? However, they aren't necessary to clear the endgame content currently, and of course you can always get an extra Eidolon or an extra light cone on his rerun. However, all I'm saying is the auto is being rightfully criticized in my opinion, and the hate for it is 100% deserved. Once again, this game already has very little skill expression. Limiting it even more by making a character basically a memo sprite where you just never get to be able to choose anything for them, it sucks, right? It straight up, it just fucking sucks. I was watching Mr. Pokey's video a little bit ago, and that's what actually gave me the idea to make this video. And there's a certain section in his B-roll footage where not only once, but Mydei targets a small mob twice instead of the actual elite mob. And I think anyone can realize why that's a problem. Destruction characters do more single target than they do to adjacent targets. So he's wasting a lot of fucking damage on these small mobs to the side instead of the main elite one, which in many cases will lead to an extra 1 cycle clear. And I think a lot of people don't think about this, but the difference between clearing within 2 cycles and 0 cycles is genuinely low. Like, it is very low in a lot of cases, right? For example, if you simply don't have the relic quality good enough to clear the first side and second side within 0 cycles, and you end both of them at the beginning of the first cycle, it doesn't matter, right? That's still a 2 cycle, but slightly better relic quality or slightly better speed tuning can instantly change a 2 cycle to a 0 cycle. So Mydei's auto fucking up 0 cycles is 100% a real thing that will be an issue and will become even more of a prominent issue in the future. Once again, I have to mention this, when he is going to be struggling in the endgame, let's say in 4.x a lot more, and his cycle clearage is a lot more reliant on him choosing the right target. And once again, I don't think they're going to get rid of this for one simple reason: his E1. His E1 makes his Godslayer be God complete AoE. It makes the primary target take 30% more damage, which also means that every other mob on field takes that primary target multiplier that's as well been buffed. So they very clearly want you to pull for that E1, and they want you to pull for the S1 because of how big of a damage boost it is, right? They're doing the same thing with Akrod. I've told my viewers this many times over. I don't think they're going to release another Nihility on the level of Zhaoq for Acheron on purpose, because then no one would have any reason to actually pull for Acheron's E2, right? Acheron's E2, everybody knows it. It's a pretty big game changer for her, especially if you use action advancers like Sunday, let's say. Sunday's 100% her bested slot. Let's say the upcoming Quantum Nihility DPS Cypher were to be as good as Zhaoq for Acheron in some make-believe world, right? This would then get rid of a lot of the value of her E2, because the 2 best in slots are both Nihilities, and Zhaoq is due for a rerun soon, and a lot of Acheron owners already have Zhaoq. So the reason for getting her E2 goes away quite a lot more when you have 2 best in slot Nihility supports that are better than any other option for Acheron. It's the same thing for Mydei here. They are very forcefully putting this auto into his kit to make you tempted to get that E1 either currently or on a rerun. Now, yes, once again, I have to mention to people this quite often, is that the light cones and Eidolons are by no means necessary for newer DPS characters. They'll still clear just fine for a while. However, I just want to remind you guys that Dill used to be the strongest DPS in the game 1 year ago, okay? It's only been around a year since Dill was the strongest DPS that this game had to offer. And if you look at endgame performance now, he's like tier 3 in Pure Fiction, tier 2 in APOC, and tier 1.5 in MOC. I don't even think he's a top 10 DPS in the game anymore. If that's not something that shows you or reminds you of how vast the power creep is in this game, then I don't know what is, right? Can Dill still clear endgame content? Probably. However, is it comfortable? Probably not, right? Hope you have a good day. Hope you have a good night. Peace.